Yo, it is your boy Poetics. So what I'm going to teach you to do today is how to chop up a sample. I'm going to, over multiple videos, be going into detail on different points of how to make a beat. And I'm going to show you different steps you can do and details that I do when I'm making a beat to make it really pop. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to chop a sample. So I turned off all those things. Okay, so the first thing I always do is I almost all the time use Serato sample. I find it really dope. So basically I use it, I put a sample in there. I found this sample on Looperman. So it was originally sounding like this. It's at 159. Off the top, I felt like the sample was a little too bright. I wanted to kind of bring it down, make it a little bit more moody sounding. So I brought down the pitch of it down to D major. So that brought a little bit of the emotion out, but I still want it to bounce. So what I did was I brought up the BPM from 159 to 169. So now you can feel the bounce of it a little bit more. It almost feels more like a Roddy Ricch or like the Internet Money Joint Lemonade. So what I did after that is I put it in a mixer track, and then the first thing I did was I added parametric EQ. So I put this EQ on it. I cut out a lot of the low end so that it won't interrupt with our 808. I put a little boost around the high mid because since it's kind of high, I wanted that to still pop a little bit, and then I brought down a little bit of that treble just so we don't have any more problems with it. Next plugin I used is it's called Drip. So what it is it's basically a plugin where you get a bunch of different filters you can put on, and it's like almost a one-stop shop to get like a vibe that you're really trying to find. So you're taking a sample and you're trying to catch a vibe with it. So I use this plugin. I put it on the Lofi. This is what it sounded like all the way overall. That's dope, but I wanted a little bit less in it, so I brought it down to about 50%, and this is what it sounded like. So at this point, I'm really rocking with it because it's giving it a different vibe. So then I put NA Lo-Fi on it. It's a Native Instruments Lo-Fi. So I put just a tiny little bit of saturation, and then I brought it up 7.3 decibels, so it's at my average volume that I put most of my samples. I try to always keep samples around that area. The next thing I did was I put reverb on it. I like to make my own custom reverb presets just so I can scroll through them all really easily. So I had one called Sad Boy, and so I'll just show you right there. I go to presets, and then I go to Sad Boy, and that's the one I use for a lot of emo tracks. And then I bring up the wet just a little bit more to give a little bit more wetness to it, make it a little more ethereal, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so then the next thing I threw on it, because I wanted it to kind of blend together a little bit more, I threw delay on it. I made sure that the time was to a quarter, and then just a little bit of level, just a little bit of wetness, just to give it a little bit of bleeding, so that it kind of interrupts itself almost. Like. next thing I did after that, just for the final little bit of sauce, is I threw halftime on it. Halftime is basically the same as gross beat, but it's a lot more customizable, in my opinion. So basically, what it's doing is you're setting the amount you want to loop. So I picked 2 bars, and then what it does is it takes those 2 bars and it stretches it out to 4 bars and it halves it. So what you're doing is you're getting the same frequency you regularly have, but in half. So at the full amount, this is what it would sound like. And that's dope. If I was going for like a Juice Roll vibe, or I was going for like a Low Peep vibe, I would do that. But I'm trying to go for kind of like a Roddy Ricch vibe. So what I do is I just bring down the mix to about 30% on that. I usually go between like 32 to 28, just so I get a little bit of that low end in there. So it almost sounds like a bass guitar. That's what you want, just to give a little bit more ear candy, make it a little bit warmer. Okay, yeah, so that is basically kind of everything I do to chop a sample, or take a sample from like Looperman or something. A lot of artists don't like it if you just take like a loop and you just throw it in regular, because there's a high chance it's going to get flagged if they load it into like DistroKid or something like that, because it will think that there's multiple of a track or that they stole it, because usually someone else just takes that sample and loads a track with it, and they kind of make bank off YouTube with that. So yeah, come back for the next video. I'm going to show you guys the next steps on how I would go about making this whole beat.